Deputy Eoin Murphy.
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. No, I had wanted to make these comments in the context, actually, of the European Council statements earlier today, but because of the standing orders, and because time is allotted equally to groupings in the Dáil, not to individuals, that wasn't possible. And I've said before on record that I think that needs to be changed, and I'd urge the Chief Whip, who's listening, to make a move to change that again. I also haven't been able to follow the debate, either for the Council statements or for this part of the Dáil's business, because I've been sitting in committee. And again, that's another improvement that we need to make to our work here if we're to be more efficient and if we're to be able to actually properly participate in the workings of this House. I remember when Lisbon II was held and successfully passed, the common consensus was that the inward looking or examination of what Europe was trying to achieve, or how European integration was improving, or the functionality of the European Union needed to change, the consensus then was that that had changed, and the idea then was to look at how the European Union was performing outwardly and in its foreign relations and other aspects of its work. But that analysis, as we know now, was wrong. And it's a fact of our relationship with Europe and of the European project that it is continuing to change, and particularly internally in terms of its functionality. And it is a fact of our relationship with Europe that we proceed now by referendum, that on the main issues of the day, we consult the people before we can continue. And we will be consulting them again in the near future. For it's certain that there is more to come in our quest to save the euro. There must be. We don't need to march blindly on, though, wondering what changes may come and when, and then discussing them only at the last minute, and then in the pressure of a referendum campaign where other interests and other political motivations come into play. A massive shift in the functioning of the EU is underway through these efforts to make the currency union a viable one. And I think it's time that we started talking about the end game, about what we believe it should be for us and for Europe, and what we are willing to do to get there. I think we now need to talk about our own vision for Europe and our place in it. And I think we have the room now to have that discussion. We've passed the Stability Treaty. Our funding post-2013 is secured. There is breathing room. And I think it's important that we as elected members begin the discussion on what we think the euro is going to look like in the next few years. We have our fiscal stability plan, but currency unions require more than that. Eurobonds, the ESM directly intervening in the banking system in Europe requires more than that. They require more than just coherence in planning. They require coherence in fiscal instruments, at the very least, if not some sort of central control of the fiscal levers of the state. This was stated at the outset of the European Euro project, but only now is it being understood. So I think it's time to figure out where we stand on some of the key taxation issues, if we're to understand and chart the right direction for the future of Europe, with us at its core and with us in the euro. For example, where do we stand on the financial transaction tax? We have said that we will not move on this tax, if it is to come in, without our UK partners, because we would not want to put our own financial services centre at a competitive disadvantage. But the UK is not inside the euro, so they'll be faced with different questions to ones that we are faced with. We have said that our corporation tax rate at 12.5% is sacrosanct, and I believe it is, and I agree with that. But what if we were offered in return a forgiveness of our banking debt for some change of that tax rate? Would we agree to that? I think it's a question that requires and deserves consideration, even if it was only, giving up control in principle. I think it's something that we should examine, because if we wouldn't give up any control of our own taxation measures, then I think that has implications for, the path that we need to chart in Europe and for the euro. And I think that these are key questions insofar as the current direction that Europe is taking at the moment, led by Chancellor Merkel. And I think it's better to prepare for them now. I think it's the prudent course to prepare ourselves and Europe for its future, because a bigger referendum is surely to come, and it will come in the next few years almost certainly. We need the euro to survive. And I think it's time to start asking ourselves some honest questions about what we are willing to do to make sure that it does and that we survive with it. And I raise that now because the Constitutional Convention is to begin its work quite shortly. And I believe that this is an important question for it to consider, and I think it should be a priority for it in its work to deliberate on Europe and where we want to be in it in the coming years. And I think it would make sense to put that on their agenda and to put it at the top. I also think it would make sense if a committee was established in this House to look at the same issues in tandem. Because if Europe is going in that direction for us, if it is moving to a fiscal union of some form or another, either a single taxation system or a commonality of taxation policies, then we need to see now what that might look like so that we can start preparing for that and so that we know what we want from it. Thank you.